I want to share with you a little story that happened to me yesterday. I was talking to somebody and I went to speak to a Sternbach and somebody asked to come to ask him an answer. It was totally impossible to get in, but we got in. And then afterwards, I decided, I felt like I really have to make a certain phone call. And after I made a phone call, I said, like, that was really dumb to make that phone call. And I was thinking to myself, the scenario has repeated itself so many times. You get this like urge, I must call this person right now, and it's so important, and this, and then when you rethink it, you say, like, it was so dumb to make that call. And it reminds me of there's a very powerful set of books by Rabbi Dr. Avram Pesi, right, where he analyzes Charlie Brown cartoons, right? There's one called When Did the Good Times Start? There's one called That's Not a Fault as a Character Trait, and there's one more. But I think in When Did the Good Times Start, or in Not a Fault of Character Trait? So When Did the Good Times Start? There's a famous cartoon of Lucy holding the football for Charlie Brown to kick, and he says, "I'm going to do it as long as you don't pull it up. Take it away." He do that every year. He said, "This time I'm not going to do it." And he goes and he runs. He tries to take the ball. She picks it up, and he falls on his bottom. So, it just happens over and over again. We just keep falling for the same arguments, the Yetzirah. And it's tricky because the Yetzirah knows this really, really well. And the Yetzirah is kind of like artificial intelligence. The Yetzirah is trained as soon as we figured out one level to outsmart it, it goes to the next level, and then we have to outsmart it again, and outsmart it again, and outsmart it again. So it's really a tricky process. Life is really tricky. And as I've said many times, about 30, no, 27, 28 years ago, I was listening to a shift by Rebbe or Shlomo Brevda. He said the only way to beat the HR is to learn to play with the Gra, because that's the guidebook. He gives you the tools. Right? So tonight, we're going to focus on one very, very important tool. Actually, it's many tools, but it's one tool of the Eight Sahara, but many, many tools how to deal with that particular aspect of the HR. And that's something called Pesi. Pesi is somebody who, I guess in English will be translated foolish. That's much deeper than that. It's gullible, gullible. And it's the same thing with Charlie Brown and with the football, or myself and the phone call, you know. And Rasheimer once told me, I think I mentioned this before, it's very so important. He said, really, if you think about things for 1 second, then the Eitzar is gone. Gaitara, what the Gaitara comes to us with like these very powerful, passionate arguments. And it's like so simple and so passionate. And so you don't even have to think about it. But the moment you think about it for 1 second, you realize this is like so silly. Like, why am I falling for this again and again and again? So that's really the ultimate goal of going to do that. But we're going to see a lot of different techniques tonight how to deal with this particular attribute of pesi, which we all are. Everybody to a certain level has this meat of pesi in them. But it says in famous song, Tar Shem, Tar Hashem, Mechimas Pesi. Tar makes is Mechimas Pesi. And it, as the Gra says earlier in Mishle, he says, it gives you this, it gives you armimis, it gives you like the wisdom and the techniques how to deal with it. And the truth is, the Eitar is really on our side, right? The Eitar wants us to grow. Just he's doing his job. That's what he gets paid for, or he or she or it or the MX, whatever the Eitar is going by these days. I don't know. Is it a man, a woman, or? But so let's start. Let's start with the pasuk that we're pretty much up to, right? Which is pasuk Yudala, pasuk Tesva. We're going to start with that. And then we're going to see a few different places throughout the Sefer where he talks about this and hopefully come out with some clarity how to, once and for all, defeat the Eitzar, which is until tomorrow when he regroups. The terrible Pigua today. I don't know if you heard about it. Like, one of the things was, it was in the north. They killed the Shiva Buffer in the north. And one of the things was they stole Israeli wallets, right? So he was really, the God says, what the Eitzar does. Really, he dresses up like you yourself, right? The army. He has your guns and your clothing and your look and your smile and your face and your glasses. And the Eitzar says, "I'm you," and that's how. This is one of their major, and a lot of terrorist attacks have happened in that way. They dress up like with like Haredim or something like Israel, or sometimes they wear Israeli uniforms. They'll steal. So this is something we have to be very careful about because if it's a voice in your head and it sounds exactly like you, the Alshik says an incredible thing. On Yom Kippur, there were the two goats. One went to Azazel and one went to the Korban. They had to look exactly the same. Right? They're identical. We had to find exactly the same because one is the Yetzer Tov, one's the Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara looks exactly like the Yetzer Tov. He's just a much better orator, right? Much more convincing. The Yetzer Tov comes to you and says, like very calmly and this. And the Yetzer Hara goes, this is like so important. You must do this now. So that's why we have to be careful about those orations. Okay. So Yud Dalet Tesvav. The pasuk says like this: Pesi Yamin L'Kol Davar, V'Arvin Yavin L'Sho. So it's so true. Pesi, which we all are, myself at the top of that, he believes anything. The Eitar comes, he gives an argument, and he believes it, right? But the Aram, now, see, Aram sometimes is a bad connotation and sometimes good. At least we're going to see tonight it's a good connotation. It means the wisdom to outsmart the Yitzhak. Your Aron Yavin, Yavin is Bina, La Shura. We'll see what that word means. The Gemara says like this. Okay. Al Tamino Bara. Don't believe in this, in the evil, right? Amr Ghazal, Tamin B'Yetzara, Shiamra, right? We all know this argument here. It's not such a good hechsher, but you can't get it with a good hechsher, and it's all right. And I saw a rabbi. I was once in a certain falafel store, with pizza. I was eating with my daughter before she was married. And I'm sitting there eating, and the big rabbi, was Rabbi Bao, walks in. Yeah. And I said, oh, now I know it's kosher because you walked in. He said, I only walked in because you were here. But that's what the Eitzara does. He says, this big rabbin's there, and it's really kosher. A few problems, they took down the hechsher, but it's only like a technical point. But we really believe we fall for this, garbage, we could call it. And one of the things he says, he was very understanding. Right? Hashem is very compassionate, understanding. He understands you're going through a difficult time now, and you need to just relax and be a little lax on things. Not too much. Obviously, you can't be Machal Shabbos or eat treif, but just use what you're borderline. The Gra says that in Zayin Yudal, incredible Gra. The Gra says the Yetzer will always come to you with a mitzvah. He'll never tell you to do an Avera, right? And he'll tell you, look, you need a break now. If you don't have a break, you can have a break. So you just need to relax. You can't keep these formats anymore, like Love Yisrael, or Pas Akum, or these things. They're this. Even Genius. I was on the plane, and it was a guy. I'm glad it wasn't next to me because he would have been had a broken nose. We were saying, yes, yeah, that was like in the old days. You used to keep kidneys. They got confused, but it doesn't apply anymore. Like it was going on and on and on and on. And I would have punched him in the nose, but I calmed myself back. And but these are the arguments. That's the HR comes from. And we believe it. That's the crazy thing. Because he's such a good orator. He knows exactly what our weak spots are. He knows those weak spots and he gets us. And again, if you just think you'll figure it out. Okay, look, it says in the Gemara Kenny Kitnius, it says in the Rishonim Kenny Kisses, it says in the Torah, Beis Yosef, in the Shulchan Aruch, in the Mishnah Berurah, every single halacha, in guidelines, it says Doni Kitnius, in the Blumenkrantz guide. So why should I be able to Kitnius? No, you don't understand. That's outdated. It's 2023 now. Okay, but you think about it, it doesn't work. So that's really the goal. Okay. So don't accept this argument that just do it and Hashem will forgive you. Well, Taminbo, don't trust him. Pavel Pesi Misha Darko with Spatos. He's easily, or she, or MX Yazid, Humam and Lakol Davar. But look at him also. That's it. If you kind of underline this 3 times. He just doesn't think. Just doesn't think about it. What's going to be? Right? What's going to be? And Rabelsky once told me this, really, this saved me so many times. He said, you have an important email. Actually, for the time, there was no email. I was in New York, and there was a guy telling his son, there used to be phone booths, and not everyone carried a phone in their pocket. And there was no emails, no cell phones. Okay. But so there was also a thing called a letter. You write something, because I had to send a letter a year ago. And I spent 100 shekels on the stamp because they told me if you spend 40 shekels, there's a 60% chance you'll get there. If you spend 80 shekels, there's an 80%, and 100 shekels, 100, each one goes up. So I said, it's an important letter. So I spent 100 shekels to Rapi Chemish if she get there. Baruch Hashem got there. But, okay, so we get the emails. Emails are a lot harder because, it's really easy just to write and then send it off 5 seconds. If it's really important, don't do it. Write it, put it in your draft box, and almost inevitably tomorrow there are going to be some changes. You think, "Oh, I sent that letter like this person not going to talk to me again." And especially true, like if you reread emails, sometimes like they're very like some of them are harsh. 'Cause, like someone writes you an email, like someone wrote to me a few years ago. Said, Rabbi Travis, it's obvious you were dropped on your head as a child, yeah, because what you're saying is so incredibly stupid. So if I had responded to this, justify that was. See, I'm going to say that. Emails like that. Okay, the next letter was even worse. I can't tell you this. But I didn't respond. I'll tell you, one time I got an email like that, and I was working on myself. Um, it was a certain stock that I got from Sam Lechem Goldberg was very interesting, Shaila, about someone who had left $1 million to save the whales. Right? $1 million to save the whales. And the show was asking, my father was religious, save the whales, maybe give it to Aniyah instead. And one of my Talmidim told me, the whales will be happy, because it'll be in there as us, right? The whales will thank you afterwards, right? So I wrote this, I asked Sam Lechem, he said, yeah, look, he didn't like put it in writing. It was a verbal ask. I mean, there's no mitzvah kind. He said, you can change it. Anyway, I got such a nasty letter back from somebody. It has to be, it was a very, very big executive at a company, CEO. And and I just wrote back. I said, thank you so much for taking the time to write a letter. I write these articles and many people just, and you took the time and and it could when I went back to the road tomorrow, the guy like didn't know what to say. He was like, oh, I went back and then I told him, the Rav said again the same thing. "Look, when you come to Israel, please come with me. I will speak to the Rav." He came. It was Rav Zalman Chaim Goldberg was in bed, but he said exactly the same thing. And the person was so grateful. Here's what, like that sock really bothered him. For whatever reasons. So like he made back immediately. But we too have to try to be more careful. Because this is what happens when you act impulsively. It's all the Yitzhara. And that's how Luxembourg comes to Nebuch Yerushalayim. What happened? He gets invited to a wedding, and he got by mistake, and he responds, and he responds, and he responds, and Yerushalayim is, it's a little silly thing. So that's the thing. This is what the Gra is saying. Think about it. Actually, also, when Rav Shai you only need 1 second. You only need 1 second. Okay, but what about the Aram? What about the person who is cunning? About Mishu Aram, the Yavar Mimios Yitzhar, he knows that the Yitzhar is very cunning. Mamin Komashu Omer, Shu Mitzvah. Don't believe him, that's a mitzvah. There are 613 mitzvahs, right? Reb always used to talk about the smorgasbord. Smorgasbord. And wedding, and sometimes they have multiple smorgasbords. And I was at a wedding, they had 50 smorgasbords, one for every state. And then they had like the Viennese dessert table. After you ate 50 smorgasbords, right? And people think it's a mitzvah, because gematria, the chassan and kal or something. And of course, the chassan and kal are much happier if you eat from every table. And then, of course, the Viennese dessert table, that's like very, very important. But the point is like this: you don't have to believe it. You're allowed to argue with your Yitzhar and say, maybe it's not a mitzvah. Other things. Lashon hara is a big one. A person is in the middle of saying like the worst lashon hara, but it's justified to Nidlu Shem Shalayim. Where does it say in the Torah you're supposed to say bad things about people? It doesn't. Yeah. In fact, it says the opposite. So I'm sure. No, but it's the Torah and this, but there's no purpose to debating somebody. So you're allowed to argue with the Yitzhar and encourage to do it, right? And as I told you once, if you feel like really passionate, that's the red flag. Then like really check into it well. So that's what the Gemara is telling us here. Right? If you're a smart person, you think about it for a couple of minutes, and even a couple of seconds, it'll disappear. Right? One second. Right. Yavin mi'atzmo derech liyashem. Usher dar, right? Usher dar. Usher is from Lashon Yasher. Straight path. Just by thinking about it. Okay. So that was the first. Now I'm going to share with you a few more psukim here. I wrote them down so I wouldn't forget them. We're going to go back a few psukim. We had this a couple of weeks ago. Pasuk Ches. Okay, so the main kinyan we got from that pasuk was thinking. Right, that's really important. Let's go back to pasuk Ches now. This is on page, go find it a couple of pages back. Aram, Pavin Darko, the Avelis Sila Mirma. Right? The cunning person understands his way, right? His way, we're going to see, is either the Yetzer Hara or his own way that he's supposed to go in life. Vivelas ksilim mirma. The impulsivity, ksila is somebody impulsive, is the teva. Says the Gra, Shalom Sarach Leos Ara. Like we said, Lamala, Kianachashu Aram. The snake was very smart. He was very cunning. Umasav kamet spivos betuyim ad shenichzalazad. He sets up traps, and sometimes it could be like years and years and years of work. Right? The Kutzker once said about a certain Rav that he got to his position in order just to like knock someone down tremendously. Right? The HR like brought him from step to step to step, made him a big person, made him defame somebody, and it was a terrible, terrible transgression. And the HR pushed him to become very big, so he would be able to do this aware. See, it's the Sarah Bottomil's Aram, love and amimis. Like it's like fine wine. You have to appreciate it. To appreciate the wisdom of the Yetzer Hara, you have to yourself be cunning. You have to be cunning yourself. Remember, Rav Dan Segel told me once, he had a neighbor, he said, what's the big deal? They're going to make speech. It doesn't bother me. Right? So use an expression. He says, the cat drinks spoiled milk. He said, in other words, a person doesn't have a sensitivity to Kedusha, so things won't bother them. Yeah? You yourself have to be cunning in order to understand the cunningness of the Yetzer Hara. Right? Lahazir mintivo shakalova mizeli dever. You have to know, and you have to know yourself. Right? It could be that some people, right, in certain situations, it won't bring them to Avera. It could be a person, can walk right by a burger on a McDonald's, right? What they call a Big Mac attack, right? A Big Mac attack, you like walking by a McDonald's, I have to go in. I don't know why exactly. But if you know, like, yeah, I won't say anything. But they have an attack. They have to go in. So don't worry. The Torah tells us if you're a Nazir, you made a vow not to drink wine or eat the grapes. Right? It's a grapevine, grape vineyard. It's not a good place for you. Or don't go into a bar. Just like see what's going on to do kiruv. Was there a grocery used to go into the discos? I'm going to do kiruv in the bars, but you're a nazir. It's not go do kiruv in a disco, not a bar. It's not the right place for you. Or maybe go to Samat, but not to a bar. Things. So you have to know exactly where your vulnerable points are. And that's part of outsmarting the Yetzer Hara. Okay. So now he continues here. Bezel umas orim ve'lavin darko bativo. You have to know exactly your nature. Everybody's weaker and stronger in different areas. Abelis ksilam mirma haksilam shein yodim. Ozen kivelis take it. Again, it's a step, it's another piece in the puzzle, right? What stops a person from thinking? Because that's so easy, right? You just have to stop 1 second and think. But that second is very hard, right? You have to stop. And it's the impulsivity, like, because you're interesting, you have to do it now. Really, really important right away. If you don't do it right now, it's like you're gonna miss your opportunity. Right? I did this once, I think I got a phone call, walking the call. We just won like an incredible vacation package, you're one of 10,000 people chosen for this. I said, how much is it? They said a price of it. It doesn't sound so cheap. I said, maybe I'll call the kibbutz levy because, we need to go there once in a while. Call them. You have to tell me it's right now. I said, that's right. I'll call you back in 2 minutes. I called them up and said, it's a fraud. It's cheaper if you call through us. And that was it. But like right now, do it right now or else whenever something's right now, like that's again a red light, you know, not thinking and right. And that's really our vulnerable spots, right? Because right now, look, if it's Pikuach Nefesh, the only thing I know, which has to be right now, is Pikuach Nefesh. It says whoever asks a Shaila is Pikuach Nefesh. He's a murderer, you know. I remember one time, somebody passed out. Sure, like right away, get to a phone call. It's Pikuach Nefesh. There was a fire in yeshiva. Said immediately, get a phone, call the fire department. Okay, took them half an hour to come, but at least we did our stalins, right? That's the point. When it's Pikuach Nefesh, you have to act right away. There's nothing else in halakha, right? Except maybe Kanai Pogambo, it's true. That's true. But almost, there's very, very few areas in halacha where you're supposed to do right away. In general, take a second or two and think about it, and the result will be, Evan Ezra made a poem. He said, the fruits of speed is regret. That's it. The fruit of speed is regret. Like we all know it. Like from we have 10,000 proofs that this is true. But we do it again. Like that's it, and it's right. Somebody called me up last night, and we've been working for many years in certain areas of going to be tough on. I said, like, did the same thing again. I said, yeah, but you did it. That's a major accomplishment, and you feel bad about it. I'm going to try to show next time. You'll be in a better place. Okay, so that's what he's saying over here. That's the velis of the ksilim. Mirma. It's deceptive. Just to go right, go fast, right? And okay, oh, it says as the gra. Mirma kloma lo dai shem olnukim asam. Shem maramim gam akedem shikamosam. Well, in our ksilim loshen rab. Right? Why is it in the plural? But they have to have other people join in with them. Shevelis miras exilim, shmik silam asikavelis, marves kavero shagam right? The person who's really the impulsive person and the fool, they want as many people to join with them as possible because they feel really good. This is like a really great thing to do, this stupidity, right? And they want to get other people. Like the Gemara says, if you have a pushka with one point in it, it makes a lot of noise, right? So if space can be empty with just one little thing, it makes a lot of noise. So be careful. People care. I was going to this morning. There was a large group, and there was a guy there without a kippah giving like a real drasha. And someone said, this is a group of the Erev Rav. I don't know what they were there for exactly to, knock down the mechitza in the kotel or something, or to build a section for the reforms, something like that. Like the Quran says that most Apikorsim and Minim are excellent speakers, right? And they're Torah Mateva. They come, Shom Shadron used to say, we think of Esav like this guy with a machine gun, and he looked really tough. And, Esav had a big strimel and a long beard, like he was the Admor, he looked like a very holy person. And when he got married, the name of the Kala? It was Yehudis and Basmas, like these are beautiful, Yehudis, Yehudis. And there were big signs up all over the chasna. They closed off Bar Ilan to make a big chasna. 10,000 people on the Rebbe. That was just one big exception, right? Because Esav is the quintessential example of the Yitzhak. And Rashi tells us he holds out his hooves. It's look, I'm kosher, so I'm kosher. Right? Because inside doesn't chew his cut. Right? So this is the way the Yitzhak works. MX, they'll always try to show you that they're kosher. Right? And these people also are trying to sell their ideologies. Rav Chaim Brisker once, someone came to him and said, I want to speak in brisk, not because. So he said, I'm only going to quote kosher sources. So Rav Chaim was a brilliant person. He said, yeah, but kosher food and not kosher pot is treif. So, you could tell me from here, I take Morgus, right? It doesn't work, right? Too smart to be deceived. Okay. And again, if you see like Moshe Shapiro used to say, if you see lots of people gathered around listening, it's a good chance it's either Lashon Hara or Sheker or something, because that's really what people are attracted to. Okay, a few more psukim while we're here. Let's go to above 9 Yud base. Okay, so far we have two major things: thinking, right, and not to go compulsive. So those are things, and they're complementary. So look at 27:12. And it's on page Shinyut, Shai. Right. And, okay. Really just to sum up what we learned already in a short form. Oram Ra, Ra Vanister. Oh, there's an important point here. Petoyim of Ruvanenshu. So what does the Aram do? So I think in America they say you're not supposed to run away from something. Is that right? You're supposed to run away from. You're supposed to face the challenge, stand up to it. That we don't believe in that all the time. So the Aram, he sees it and he hides himself, says the Gra. Sha'aram shemaven asof, k'mo sheprash l'mala, royam even, shilu on its he sees it. And what's he do? Master zatzmameno, mak mazeh. Right? He hides from it. Right? And there's a story in the Gemara about Rebbe Kiva. There was a boat that sank, and everybody died except for Rebbe Kiva. And they asked him, like, what'd you do? What's your secret? He said, everyone else tried to go over the waves. I went up to the waves. And it's not necessarily the best methodology to face the challenge head on. And it's not like, what do they call it? Cowardly. It's not cowardly to run away. Yeah. Because, um, first of all, you're dealing with an opponent who's very, very tough. And second of all, once you're like in the same arena, like the same ring, as it were, right? It's a dangerous situation because the Azar is more powerful than us. Okay. So that's the thing. So sometimes the best thing is just to run away. Gotoyim, she'ena mevina masol. No, they say going to be a coward. I'm going to face the challenge. I'm going to go to the casa. I'm going to take from each of the 50 tables. I'll put it on my table, and I won't eat any of it. They say, well, it's on the table already. Baltasha, so I have to eat some of it. I only have one plate. Or these, what are they called? Enterman chocolate chip cookies. You know about these? Is it? Oh, it's called Yisrael. I don't know. But like they say, catch that one, drink that one. I'm just got one more, and then the box is gone. Or the cigarettes. Smoke one cigarette, another one. Box is finished. So it doesn't work. It doesn't work because the agents, I don't eat the whole box, just one cookie. You know, right? One. It's a shiloh. One cookie. Bracha achrona. They need a second one. Now to I'm no, but not the padanish. Eat a second. Third one. It's still something. Eat a fourth one. Now you have the bench ready, so you have to wash. So don't tell me about those rice cakes. Because there's three-way machlokas. Is it Adama, Shahakol, or Mizonos, right? So you have to have a piece of cake for the Mizonos, and then, you have to have, I don't know, something else for the Adama, and then for the Shahakol. So you're not on such a good diet anymore because you're eating so much food. But it's all a mitzvah. It's all a mitzvah. It's all a mitzvah. Okay. So that's the thing. So, maybe just eat some crackers or something like that. But that's the thing. So we learned three things here so far. We learned thinking about it, don't be impulsive, and sometimes run away. You have to know. Sometimes you can't run away. Sometimes you have to deal with it. But in general, a person should be able to know themselves if it's too much. It's beyond their threshold. I know once, I think I told you the story, there was somebody who was working for me, and I said, we have to send this email today. If not, we're probably going to lose $10,000. It was a Rishima, Mr. Datot, for like 3, 4 months. And anyway, so I get a phone call 3 weeks later. Was I supposed to send that email? I got confused. I said like 3 or 4 times. I said, you know what? This is not in my threshold. Let me speak to you in 3 days. Hang up the phone, you know, like what's it called? Take a drink, take a walk, breathe, say Koman, David Rahman 10 times. In the end, we got more money. We're not, like there was some error in this, and I don't know what happened exactly, but we got more money, like everything worked out, and I still fired that person. But the point is, you know, sometimes you have to know it's not your threshold. Right? The right thing to do is just wave the white flag. I just can't do it. That's the right thing to do. That's the right thing. That's what this puzzle is. It's not cowardly. It's not considered to be cowardly. Right? Coward. Okay. Let's take a look now. At Yud Test Cafe. Okay. Test Cafe. If we can make it, we have another 2 more clues after this, if we're going to survive. But so far, I think we're still alive. Somebody told me, like, generally, you will not see me in Shivas. It's safer. In the Mir Yeshiva, like, they used to have a copy and so on, and it disappeared. And I told the guy, again, he says, who wants me? It was that's too hard. It's like considered the most heavy duty Musar that's like available in the whole world. From the Gra, before the Gra went into Gullus, he left his family for like a year and he was just like going around in incognito. And he encouraged his family to learn the Gra. He said, this is like really heavy duty Musar. Like, no punches pulled. Okay. Um, so good test. Okay. Okay, this is very it's a little bit long. Let's try. Let's try. Uh okay. Let's talk it. Pesi Avon Yavanda. So this is a very interesting pasuk. Right? So how do you deal with the Pesi, which is ourselves? Right. So we learned, think about it, don't be impulsive, run away. But again, those require the very first step. In other words, to start thinking or not to be impulsive, run away. You need the first step. So how do you start? So listen to this. This is a really interesting thing to go out and say here. So lates. First, before we get to the past, we have the lates. The person who's late is dvarim, madavar dvarim batelim, all the time, just schmoozing about things which are you're not supposed to be talking about. You don't nanim zekla, just get any pleasure from it. V'yodea she'ein toelis, aflagufo, no physical or pleasure from this at all. ולכן לא יפרידו התוכחה ליצנס. כי גם אם הוא יודע שאין תועלת לו. What help does it? The guy's just sitting around all day long saying ridiculous things and wasting people's time and talking Lashon Hara. The Thomas Chaim says, by the way, we think Shemiras Lashon is Lashon Hara, but there's 13 Averas. There's Lashon Hara, there's Ridiculous, there's Leitzanis, there's Sheker, there's Hanufa. So really to guard your tongue properly. And sometimes people won't be so bad Lashon Hara, but will not harm them. They'll say things that hurt people's feelings, or they flatter people, or they might say, lies. So this person is just all the time talking. Okay. So it won't help the Raga. Pesi Yarim. So look at this. Isha Mispata, this is the one we're talking about after Tavaso. Ma'adanim l'nafshe, right? He's going after his taivas, his pleasures, and things like that. U'machma she'yira ha'kotz la'leitz is yarim. So what do you do? Oh, so he said the only way to really deal with the lates is to hit him, right? Or, no. And you can't do this anymore. It's not a l'chamaisa. Because today, if you hit your children, they'll call the police. Really, like a number of incidents I heard about in Brooklyn. Parents punished their children. They called the police, And they took the parents in, and then, losing your children and this, Okay, but it says in Mishle, it says, shiftos only, but no. If what is it? Spoil the rod? Spare the rod and spoil the child. I'm going to spare them. So, okay, yeah, okay, but still, we're going to lock you up. Okay, so today you can't have your children. But there was once a time in the history of the world where there was such thing as punishment, and the lates needs to be punished. Okay, it might not even be physical. It might be like some sort of thing. Now, when the Pesi sees that, right? So that's how the Pesi takes Musar. That's how to affect the Pesi. See that again, right? That's the lates top of a Pesi hour. Each of Misfate, right? Excuse me. Uh, well, another one second, right? When he sees a Pesi arm, who eats a Mispata Acher Tavaso, right? Umachmas Shira Kos Lalates as Yarim Vidas. When he sees the slates receiving punishment, he thinks to himself, Mali Leilas, after heavily Asmun. But Tanuga Madana, what am I doing? Wasting my life with these silly things. Hello could sail over like it's going to end. But Tomer Lamar Mimovis. It's going to be not going to go anywhere in the end. And that'll stop him. Oh, that's so we have three madrigas. We have the lates, you have to hit him or do some sort of punishments, a little bit more aggressive or at least assertive. The pussy just have to see that person being punished. That's enough for him. And then we have the navan, the person who's intelligent and wise. Lo tasa shum davar. Lo tibo yad. You don't have to say anything, do anything. Tochich. Just give them tochacha, right? And tochacha, just give them pasak. Also, that's tochacha here. Umatz yavan hadas. Kim ein bina ein das. Right? Where there's no bina, there's no das. But if the person is an understanding person, right, they'll figure it out for themselves. The kivan shishmo navan yavan das. Tachas gar maven was sell man, right? That's the Valhalla, or it's a Pasuk 97. No, it's right? Like the right placed word for somebody who's smart is better than 100 punches for the person who's succeeding, right? So that's it. For the person who's really smart, you just need to say the right words, and they'll figure it out themselves, right? They'll figure it out themselves, and that's obviously the best approach. What was it? It was in Bnei Brak. Who was the Rav there? Rav I think it was. That somebody moved into his neighborhood and had a television. It wasn't the type of neighborhood where televisions were encouraged. I think televisions are probably pretty lame today, compared to what's going on. But so what do they do? So some people will take rocks and throw it at the windows. Very effective way to stop people from doing things. But that's not what they did. the Rebbe came out of Shabbos and she put a big plate of cake, like a very big plate of cake. And she came to the house and she welcomed them because very much having her. And the Rebbe himself came over on Shabbos. He sat down with me and he said, "We're so honored to have you in the neighborhood. Thank you for coming. And I see that you learned. You go with Dr. Yosher. Most of the on television was gone. Like, what happened? Like, not one word about the television. Tell am I? The Rebbe would know. I mean, okay, so there's an antenna there. Figure it out. But like, how can I have a television if Rav Zilberstein is giving me so much cover? So that's really like the best type of Torah. And that's really ultimately, if we have children and students, that's the way we want to encourage them to go in that way, just to use positive reinforcement and they should figure it out themselves. That's much, much more, that's the most powerful teaching. Because if it doesn't click in themselves, then it's not going to go anywhere. Right. I know it should be gesund, but whenever I have to go to a certain street in Yerushalayim, and there are always people demonstrating there against the internet. Um, it's good to be passionate about things. It's good. Well, I wonder, I wonder how effective it is. It could be ineffective, but like the Graz Mahalach was much more, work on people's safe, you know, try to like educate them, what are the problems. And there was one very well written Pinterest. So like, look, there's technical problems with things about snus and other Isurim. It's true. You get a filter for that. But there's not with time, you know? A very close friend, and he's a very big chaos. He said, I'm spending 3 hours a day on his phone, you know? Because you look at this and you look at this and you find out this and who's running for president, Biden and Trump and what's happening and, the investigate. You go from one thing next and you're watching and a few hours have passed. So, um, so he wrote this, and he said, and it was showing how like people's attention spans are going down and how it's so much harder to teach people. If you can hit a person's understanding and it can click in the person's head, that's so much more effective than like screaming and yelling and things like that. So we should keep that in mind with our children and whoever we come in contact with, we want to have an effect on that. Okay. So what do we learn from here? We learn from here is the methodology of dealing, 3 levels of methodology. The person delates, like the only thing you could do is some sort of punishment. The person who's the maven, just say something to them, and we have the Pesis in between, they see the punishments. Right? But the hope is that, even though we are Pesi, but we can like slowly get to be towards the maven. Okay. Two more Pesukim will close, and they're short ones. Look at 9:6 tests Vav. Is that short? Let's see. Yeah, short. Yeah, it's very short. Okay. And then the last one has some practical things, which is very good. Um, Yisru Pesoyim Vachayu V'ikshu B'derech Bina. So again, we're using the same exact words. Ikshu is yasher, the way of thinking is straight. You think about it, it's gone, finished. But the psoyim, their main job is to just drop it, to try not to be psoyim anymore. And that's what the Goy says. Right? She helps with their yasha. Don't try to give them tochach. Right? It's how we saw in the last pasuk. It just won't work. Right? Try, positive reinforcement might help, but just hey, oh, they brought me so much credit, they must think I'm a great person. Maybe I'll get another television or something like that. She just won't figure it out. I saw in one of these Lashon Hara books for children. Oh no, it was in Ray Pliskin's book about Onos Devarim, right? The Power of Words, a very good book. He said, if people handed you multiple copies of this book, then you might want to think about how you're talking to people. It might be a message from God. But okay, so that's as far as the lades goes. So you have to be careful with the Pesi. Ash b'derech bina, el targel atzma aleilech b'derech tamid v'chamim, right? The person is connects himself to Talmud Chachamim. As we said here before, when we learn this sefer of Mishle with the Gra, there's 2 participants in the Shir. Always come. Do you know who they are? The Gra and Shalom Elav, right? Those like right over here and over here. And probably the Shalom Elav is on the right side and the left side. And they're here. And not only that, it says as you say the words, they're saying the words as well, right? In the cover, their mouths are moving, and they're saying the words as well, and that is a very powerful thing to be doing that, connecting to where their neshamas, and all of us are connecting now to the neshamas of the Shalom Melech and to the God, and that definitely makes the learning much more powerful, right? And that's called being in the midst of Talmidei Chachamim, right? By learning the Sefer, you're connecting to the neshama of the, of the, I don't even know what to call the Gra, Shalom Melech, right? You know, usually you see like the earlier they were, the less titles they have, you know? So today, if Shalom Melech would be a Goen, a Gadol, Maran, Rabbeinu, right? There's not enough titles for Shalom Melech. It's the Chacham Mikol Adam. You go out, forget about it. He was called a Gaon. Today, if you're called a Gaon, it means like you maybe know how to read a Gemara. Like, I remember once there was a certain Rosh Hashiva, and I did a dedication for his father, and I wrote a Gaon. He said, Gaon? Like, that's such an insult. You wrote to my father as a Gaon? Gaon on me. Everybody's a Gaon. He's really a Gaon. So, no, it's not. So, but by learning the Svarim, you connect them. Okay, we have one more pasuk, and then we'll conclude with that. They get to Stephanie's court, but it's Aleph Beis, right? We end the Sefer, and here is where like you really tune into what the Pesi is all about. And right, it's on page of Zayin, Parak Aleph Pasuk of Beis. Right, and again, we break it. This is the introductory parak. He's introducing to a lot of personality types, which is what Mishle is all about. And we have three major ones here, right? And the Gemara says, Ad Mosai Tsoyim Te'etzu Pesi. The Tsoyim are the people who are grabbed by enticement. The Leitzim Lotson Champdu, and the Leitzim are people who are drawn after Leitzonis. Ksilim Yisnudas. The Ksilim will act impulsively, hate das. So this is what the Gemara says. He outlines these three things here. And for our purpose, the main thing is the first one says about the Pesi. Machma sh'dispata b'yitzron leilik achar taimis olam hazeh and sobrim should have had some gold, right? V'yezeh kamo kein la'olam. So that's the main thing. Right? And then we talk about the late sonim and about the what was the last one? It's about the late seal. Right? But that's it. We have to be careful about olam hazeh. Now look, the Vilna Gaon we said had two slices of bread the whole day. One slice he put in at night before he went to sleep. Sit the whole night in water and you eat in the morning. That was his breakfast. And then after breakfast, he put another slice of bread and water and ate it for dinner that night. That's very, very far away from us. Our job is to eat good, tasty food, and healthy, hopefully, like everything you get here, and enjoy it and contribute the joy to Hashem, right? If you can, if you remember it, think, oh, this is like such good tea, and forget about the muffins. That's like off the charts. But thank you, Hashem, for giving me such tasty food. We had such a shkacha tonight. My son today had his wisdom teeth pulled, right? So he's good getting married. His wife will have Bini Sarah. He lost his wisdom teeth. And they said, you must have Menton tonight, And so the doctor put it in the computer, right? But of course, that doesn't mean it's in the pharmacy and you have to have it tonight, right? So my wife went to the pharmacy. What's pharmacy? Computers. And I get home. I say, you know what? I think I just had a similar scenario a few months ago, and I have an extra picture on Wednesday, and it was right there. Don't you Hashem, before Kol Lamaka. These are the things we have to do. Recognize Hashem's great goodness in the world, and that is the major purpose of Gashmians. Torah says, whoever eats food and doesn't make a bracha is a Ganav. So the Marsha is like, what are you stealing? You're stealing the shefa, like the tremendous blessing that comes down to this world when you make a bracha. If you eat these delicious, and I hope I'm not saying Lashon Hara because now everyone's going to want to get these muffins, right? Maybe but if you eat these muffins and you make a bracha, Rishona, and a bracha Brona, you bring down tremendous, tremendous shefa to the world. And I have a friend who's in Kabul, and he showed me once, he's a Kabul who does kavanas. Every time he makes a bracha, he goes through 100 pages. He doesn't read them. He just turns and follows it. And he's following the bracha It's like starting the highest realms of Shemayim and coming down to this world. And the Shefa is going to Atzilus and Bria and Yitzira and Asiya and the Partzuva and the thing and traveling. And it's like, and the whole world is like turning upside down with just one bracha. If we realized what was going on, we would like make our brachas more slowly. But the point is that you bring Shemana, and that's the point of the Gashmias. What is it? What does the Yitzhar do? He says, no, you have to indulge, eat as much as possible because you need strength and you need to relax, and it's like very good for you to eat all. You know, they asked him to find, what's the bracha on one slice of pizza? He said, mazonos. Two, you should wash. What's the bracha on three? He said, don't have three pieces. It's too much. Three pieces is too much. Okay. I think in America too is also like they have these really big slices. It's a lot. But the point is that's a God's fish. So let's just sum up what we said here today. And hopefully, like the next time the HR will confront us, which will be like in 5 minutes from now. The Groa says, I think, not the Groa, the Arizal says every minute like three times, suddenly. But the bigger ones like take longer. So the first thing we said is thinking about it. And thinking about it, by the way, includes Eitzah, right? And, on Shabbos, I had a certain question. Should I do A or B? And there was somebody, one of my Talmidim, much younger than me, but a very big chacham. And I went out, we spoke it out. We spoke it out for 5 minutes. And I realized that I didn't want to do it with something that took effort, and I didn't want to do it. And when after I spoke to him, I realized it was atzlas, it was laziness. So a lot of times taking eitzah from other people, and it could be someone, either at our level or maybe even lower than us, just asking someone else, removing the bias. That's number one. And number two, he said, thinking about it and not being impulsive. Right. The third thing we spoke about was hiding, just going away for like it's the story about the money, the threshold, right? Too much, and then we spoke about Gashmias, pulling a person in, right? Be very very careful about Gashmias. And if you see other people, if you see other people acting with impulsivity or being drawn after Gashmias properly, you can learn from that, see it, and realize, that it's not for you. Um, and it's very good to have a Rav or a Rebbitzin, somebody who what you call, who keeps you on like the straight path. And you could ask questions to, and they could make sure you go straight. So this is it. Okay, look, um, it's not easy. It's very hard, but again, 1 second of thinking, and it's gone. So Hashem to give us the strength and the wisdom just to think for 1 second. Okay.